Hey guys, long time no see. So I have a whole slew of updates and things to talk about with the coming new year, but we're putting that all on hold for a second to talk about this open gaming license debacle, and it's everything's gotten a little weird. To clarify, I am not going to go over what the OGL is, not going to dissect the update that Wizards released on Friday, not going to go through and talk about all the legal complications of what they leaked or anything of that nature, because there are tons of videos out there that go over all of that, and I'm not going to rehash the same thing over and over again. Plus, as per usual, I'm late with this update. I am going to talk about the motivations I think Wizards of the Coast have behind the updated OGL. I'm going to talk about the implications it has for, publishers and the community and myself, and my general opinion on the whole entire thing. This comes from the perspective of a very small business owner, small creator of one. So take all of this with a grain of salt. I'm not trying to convince anybody to, have the same opinion as me. I'm just sharing for a different perspective, as well as I am going to play devil's advocate a little bit here, just because I think that perspective isn't played out online very much. Always good to kind of hear both sides, and so I'm going to try to be impartial, though it's really hard. So let's talk about Wizards' motivations behind this. I mean, the obvious one is it's about money. But I think people are very quick to say Wizards is greedy, Wizards is, a horrible, evil company. While you're not necessarily wrong, really doesn't everyone want to make more money? Hell, I want to make more money, but that doesn't make me evil. It does explain, however, the clause they have in the newer version about the royalties that they've now redacted. They're obviously wanting to capitalize on people who are making a lot of money off of their original OGL. It's also why they want to own a share of future content made and things like that. So regardless of whether or not it's good or evil, it boils down to money. But here's the thing, it's their IP, so devil's advocate here, they don't have to share the rights of their product with us. Technically, they're allowed to do whatever they want with it. Not saying that they can redact what they've already released, because they said that could not be. Obviously, adding a clause that lets them take back the first version, the OGL 1.0 back, is still a slap in the face to all creators out there, but I can also still see where it's coming from, because it's a corporation. Even as a small creator, if I had released something and allowed people to use it, and I saw that somebody else was using it and making way more money than me, or making as much money as me, part of me would be jealous, and that's kind of what's happening. Of course, from my perspective, I wouldn't necessarily redact my license that I let, or the permission I gave to other people to use my stuff, because that's not right. Instead, I would use that as a challenge, honestly, to make better and greater stuff that blows their crap out of the water, but I digress. The other thing to mention, and just to remind people, we're talking about the company that owns Magic the Gathering, okay, and Pokemon trading cards. If you don't know what Magic the Gathering is, or whatever, I'm gonna boil it down to the really basic, simplest terms for you. Essentially, it's a game where you buy a whole bunch of blind packs with different kinds of cards, you build a deck, and you're hoping for the best cards out of those blind packs, and you use that deck against other players, and you just keep buying cards, and it's kind of like gambling, because you don't really know what you're getting into those cards, but Wizards will get your money because they'll keep releasing individual card packs and new things, and obviously as a corporation they're out to get your money, and that's obvious from Magic the Gathering, but it's also obvious from the earlier release when they mentioned how they were going to release digital dice and all of that kind of stuff on D&D Beyond. You don't need digital dice. It's a cosmetic thing, and it's just another way for them to get your money. It's a corporation, and so I don't necessarily think corporations are greedy. They're always going to be concerned about their bottom line and how they're going to fatten it up. So I feel like that's something that nobody really talks about. It's like, you know, yes, everybody says, oh, they're a corporation and they're greedy, but all corporations are like that. And so from my perspective, this doesn't surprise me. It's not good, and I'm not saying that what they're doing is okay, but I'm just saying, like, it is what it is for a corporation. A reminder, I'm not sticking up for Wizards, because why? My business also relies on the OGL. What does this mean for the community, for tabletop RPGs, etc., etc., me and Cantrips Media? We've already seen a lot of this happening. First, people are just mass unsubscribing to D&D Beyond, to which I say, why were you even subscribed in the first place? Like, don't get me wrong, I like digital versions of things. I like having the character builder, and that's really nice. Overall, subscribing never seemed to be worth it to me. So, and I'm a DM, and I have multiple characters and whatever, I just save them in a paper format. We are seeing the foundations of Orc, which, if you're not aware, Paizo is creating their own form of the open gaming license called the Open RPG Creative License, I think, creation or creative. Regardless, Orc, it's essentially a system agnostic gaming license that will cover everything and protect all third-party creators, and a whole bunch of major publishers are backing that. If you don't know who Paizo is, they're the people who created Pathfinder and Starfinder. Also, two of their leaders were actually a part of the Wizards of the Coast D&D branch that created the OGL 1.0, the first OGL. And they kind of say that in their update, which I find kind of hilarious. So I just want to like read you this snippet, because if you haven't read this, like, I'll put a link in the description below. It was pretty spot on, this one little sentence, and it kind of made me giggle. But they said, we believe that any interpretation that the OGL 1.0 or 1.0A were intended to be revocable or able to be deauthorized is incorrect, and with good reason. We were there. Two of their leaders were leaders at D&D, so they have a lot of reasons to, you know, create their own, as well as Pathfinder built their whole empire using the OGL way back when for their first version, and they continue to use it or include it because there are so many similarities between Pathfinder and D&D and blah blah blah, protect their ass. But this is all good, and I think that, like, that movement is a good idea. However, caution you, because it's me playing devil's advocate again, even though I don't doubt that Paizo and their owner and leaders and the legal team that they're working with, I don't doubt that they really care about having an open gaming license because they built a whole empire on it. Like I said, just like me, it's very important for our entire livelihood and our business. But you have to remember that still they have a team of people just like Wizards does. This was very much a PR piece, if you ask me, and I would know because I come from a marketing background. I can tell that this article that is aimed to not only appeal to our already hurt emotions and to kind of rally us behind them, but it's also a marketing ploy. They're trying to get you to like them over D&D, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just telling you, it's kind of the same corporate BS that we're seeing on the other side. So just remember that they're all kind of corporations in their own way. And if you read this and you're like, I don't know what Kylie's talking about, this isn't marketing at all. Look at the last paragraph where they offer you a 25% off coupon code for any of their starter stuff. I mean, I don't blame them. This is the perfect time for them to capitalize on this, and this leads me into the next point. We're also seeing the whole community kind of moving away from D&D, which I think is also a good thing. I'm not saying that I hate D&D or anything. Obviously, we all still love the game and love, you know, the community we've found and the people we've gotten to meet and, you know, the friends we've created around the table, and that will always stem from the fact that we started playing D&D. But I feel like D&D has always been a gateway RPG. In other words, it's the one that gets us into RPGs and tabletop role-playing but that there are so many other systems out there to try. It kind of leads us to expand our horizons and try different things and meet new people at other types of tables. I think this is a really good thing, and honestly, from the get-go, my business was not supposed to focus solely on D&D. It was going to move to like Pathfinder and Call of Cthulhu, and we'll talk more about this in my New Year update. I have always wanted to create journals for other systems as well, and this does kind of push me to do that more. The other thing we're seeing is that third-party publishers everywhere are changing lots of stuff, and I think that's not necessarily a bad thing either. If an agnostic OGL goes into place and that actually works out, great. But if not, obviously a lot of third-party publishers will have to work around stuff. I don't think this will hurt content from 5e because their newest update was like, oh, we're not going to redact it or revoke it from 5e, but it will affect content for 1D&D. Publishers everywhere are changing what they're doing, including Kobold Press is actually making their own system. Right now it's under the code name Project Black Flag, but they're making their own tabletop RPG system. Rambling on and on. So what does this mean for Cantrips Media? It really doesn't affect me directly because they have said they aren't revoking the first version of the OGL, which is good because that means I don't have to change all of my journals. However, if they do end up revoking it or changing it to some degree, I will have to either change all my class-based journals or remove that whole line of journals. I've already had plans on expanding into other systems, and this is kind of pushing that up on the priority list a little bit. So I will be doing that, and that will be taking more precedence in the next few months. Creating journals for other systems was something I've always wanted to do. However, I haven't been able to because I'm one person. Literally, I wrote this script. I'm in the video. I'll be editing the video. I'll be posting it and onto all my social media. I'll be making journals. I have 30 orders waiting over there to be packed. I literally do everything. Cantrips Media right now is one person, hopefully changing in the next 6 months. Hopefully, keep your fingers crossed. Just not had the capacity to expand to other things. Also, the community is very demanding. So when I released one journal for players, then suddenly people wanted class-based journals, and then if you do one class, you have to do all of the classes, and then you have to figure out how to incorporate all these different things in those, and it takes a lot of work, and you guys have exhausted me. But in a good way, because I like designing them, so it's fine. For now, asterisk, put some disclaimer on here or something. For now, I will not be agreeing to an OGL that has to own a portion of my content or take a portion of my revenue or another creator's revenue, or that can change the agreement within 30 days on a whim. Will most likely not be making any journals directly for 1D&D. However, this is obviously subject to change based on what they release in the coming weeks and all of that. It will mean that if they keep some of these stipulations when it comes to 1D&D, I will have to make a way more generic journal to sell. But that's just how it looks right now. Things are sure to change. I haven't even checked today because I've been real busy. If you're living under a rock and don't know what 1D&D is, I have a video talking about my opinions on 1D&D, and I'll put it in this general vicinity. And yeah, and then I'll have another update in the next couple weeks about the entire crazy last 6 months I've had, where I've been, and what to expect from the channel in 2023. So stay tuned, and yes, I'm back, kinda. All right, see you in the next one.